Hi everyone, today I'll be showing you how I created this post-apocalyptic flamethrower in Blender 2.8. This isn't a traditional tutorial, I'll just be going in and showing you the broad workflow of how I created this with a few extra tips and tricks thrown in. Unfortunately, I didn't record a time-lapse of the creation. If you guys would like a more in-depth video on weapons, comment below. Anyways, let's get into the video. Here's the finished blend file. You can download it from the link in the description if you're interested. Let's go through the process of making it. First, I started with this horrible blockout, just basic shapes. I didn't even bother slapping the subsurf modifier on it. So once I was happy with the basic shape, I moved on to the high poly model. I opened up a new blend file and started from scratch. I know that some people use the blockouts as a base mesh for their models, but generally, since I'm very sloppy with the blockouts, I just use them as reference. So now there's the process of adding details like the bayonet and the flashlight. Okay, quick tip. So for cylinders, by default they come with an end gun end. And it looks fine right now, but for most hard surface models you'll want to add a subdivision surface modifier. And as you can see, the end gun is causing all sorts of weird artifacts. So you can obviously add loop cuts, kind of tighten it up, but it still looks a little bumpy and weird, right? So a way you can fix this is you can take the ends of the cylinder and then you can press I to inset it, and as you can see, it has gotten rid of this artifact as long as you don't move these. So this inset has to be exactly level with the edge of the cylinder. So that's one way to do it. Another way you can do it, which has all quads, is you hit Control F, grid fill. So this is a completely quad way of filling it. As you can see, both ways are not perfect. As you can see, if I delete this edge loop, the quad actually makes this weird square shape. So unless you can have edge loops right up close to it, that'll be a pretty noticeable effect. So both ways are good. 99% of the time, I just use the end gun. I just inset the end gun. So this is the finished model, and I decided to make an animation for it. Here's the animation file. You can also find the download link in the description below. So this is just a bunch of cameras animated around the scene. Let's take a look at how I did this. Okay, so here we just have a basic scene. So I'm going to show you how I created the camera motion and even switching in between cameras in the scene. So let's just add a few keyframes to this, and then say go 50 frames forward in the timeline. And then change it up a little bit, maybe move the camera to over here. So now we got a little camera move right here. But let's say we don't want just this camera displaying, maybe we'll want another camera in the scene. So what we want to do is select this camera and add a marker. So the marker will essentially say which camera is active in the scene currently. So if we bind this camera to the marker, at this frame, this camera will be activated. But if we duplicate this camera, and say we want to see the scene from over here, then if we want to see the scene from over here, if you hit number pad 0, you go back to this camera, and if you want to switch cameras, that's not good. So what you want to do is hit marker, add marker, and this is essentially the frame on which your active camera will switch from this camera to this camera. By the way, you can tell which camera is the active camera. This is wireframe. This has a solid triangle thing on top. So anyways, as soon as we hit bind camera to marker, you can see that it switches the active camera. So now if we go back to frame 1, and then we play the animation out, you can see we've switched cameras. So let's just add a few keyframes here just to give a demonstration of something that if you might actually do an animation with this. An animation with the cameras cutting. It's a pretty neat technique, and that's how I did that. Now for the lighting, I plagiarized, had a completely 100% original idea. So a few blue lights from the side and a pink light from underneath created a nice effect. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to texture the model, but I still think it looks cool as it is. Now I have a flamethrower I can use to burn my homework, or grill my meat, or burn Suzanne. Anyway. Anyways, it's time to wrap up this video. I hope you learned something new from this. If you enjoyed the video, then leave a like. If you didn't, then thumbs it down. I don't care. No. If you want to see more of my content, then subscribe. And if you're feeling really nice, hit your head against the bell icon to get notified every time I upload a video. Also, check out these people who make better tutorials than I do.